Also, I didn't know anyone's name in this one. Like, oof.
That was part of my problem too. That's what
Like,
I was like.
I knew Duck and Eddie and like no one else, and then I finally got JT at some point.
I was struggling this whole time. I was like, this is another part of the problem. Like, I don't know if we could make this movie shorter, over a shorter period of time, or like, again, not a real band. It could have been 3 people.
No, that's what I'm saying. They could have made like the 3 Heartbeats and actually like gone into some stories for real, you know?
Like, ooh, the way I knew nobody's name. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dell.
And this is the Black Catch-Up, where we're catching up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more conservative religious childhood.
Alright, so today we watched the Five Heartbeats.
Yes. Once again, this was a suggestion from the user Something Real. They gave us a nice little list of movies they wanted us to see, so we're watching them. So, as always, IMDb. The story of the rise and fall of an African-American vocal group.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Not too much there.
Very brief, yeah, very brief.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess as usual, we kind of start off with things we liked about this one.
Yeah. I could start this one.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the scenes that I noted really liking when I was watching this was the first choreo lesson they had after they were signed to, or after they had won. They didn't win, but they let the guy Jimmy be their manager, and he brought in a choreographer for them. And I don't know, just something about the guy being like, "Y'all are shit." I just loved it. It was so good to me, and I was like, "All right, we're gonna see." I that kind of like immediately hooked me in a bit, even though it was like at least 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, especially when he like ditches his cane and then does the moves himself. No, I like that scene as well. I think I overall liked the singing and performances in this one. I especially like that little gimmick they did where the 2 guys started fighting in that one, and then the next
I
one
love
they
that.
did like a little like skit of it. But,
I definitely wrote that down.
Yeah, but I just thought like the singing, like the songs were like good and they were like fun to listen to, like and well performed, and then like the costume design was on point as well.
Yeah.
So it was just like a lot of fun from that department.
Yeah, I definitely noted their singing and their stage presence, and if you didn't know, you would definitely think that this was a real group. This is a fictional group, if it's not clear. But there is no band called the Five Heartbeats. Or at least if there is a band called the Five Heartbeats, it's not these guys. But I think they did a good job with their stage presence, and they definitely felt of the era, if you know what I mean, where you can definitely, like, again, you could think that they're a real band, they're a real group, if you didn't already know that they weren't. So I thought they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when they had, like, the girls fawning over them and the whole, like, that whole vibe. Yeah, and they also had like the cars to go with it too, and like a record deal just for the car. Gave me very Cadillac Records, even though Cadillac Records came out after this.
Yeah, I think I just had a few more touching scenes listed down.
Okay,
I thought the scene where they were in that like alleyway after Jimmy died, and one of them was fighting Eddie, the like main singer for like. I just thought that scene was kind of touching, how they like started off fighting, then just ended up like both breaking down together.
Yeah.
And then the other scene I had was do you want to go ahead or?
Oh, I was gonna say, because this scene isn't touching, but it was the office hours balcony scene that just felt very.
Oh, I
really like that. Where he was like, my office hours are 9 to 5, and then he just like shoves over a balcony.
Yeah.
Although you guys knew I was gonna like that. Come on.
Yeah, it was definitely like a super unhinged scene. You like saw it coming the whole movie essentially, because like that dude looked crazy. You know?
And you definitely like really. That's when you kind of get those like definitive like corruption notes from the Big Apple. No, Big Red. Sorry, the Big
Red. Yeah.
Big Red. I was thinking because the business card has like a graphic design of an apple, and I also was thinking that's the 60s. Like, who did that? Like, good on them.
Yeah.
I was like, good on you. This is me just not knowing a lot about like how people designed business cards and stuff like that back then. Because I'm like, that was the '60s, and you did quite. It looked like you could whip that up on a computer. Good for you, aces. But yeah, I just really like that scene because one, saying my hours are 9 to 5, and then threatening someone over a balcony. Fully crazy. But I just like that it gave you those like, oh, we're in some deep shit with this guy now.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the other scene I had was when the guy, like, I guess his girlfriend was pregnant or something, or he got someone pregnant, and they like,
yes,
he was about to leave the band, and then they gave him money. I thought that was a cute scene too.
Yeah, they were family.
Yeah.
Family.
Did you have anything else, or?
No, that was all I had.
Okay. I guess the last thing I
did have another one. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead.
Because I didn't read these in order because you said one of mine, so I had to like go out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but I think they did a good job of in their initial tour when they had to sing for the cop. That was like they did a good job like building up the tension of the race relations, and that whole speech about how like you don't see anyone about how they say this in like literally every movie about how like the white guys
cross over for us.
Like white people don't have to cross over for us. You don't see them trying to put us on their albums, all that stuff. Like they're getting famous singing our shit. They're crossing over, doing our shit and making all the money. That whole thing. Just like we've seen that scene in literally every music movie we've watched on this show, but like still hits. Hits.
Yeah, okay. The last thing I liked the feel good ending, like of them just like at the cookout, kind of dancing together, cute. Getting back into it. So that was the last thing I have for this one.
Yeah, that was cute.
All right, I guess we can get into negatives now.
Yes, we can.
I guess I'll start this one. For me, the big problem was like everything just seemed like a side story, and like I feel like they didn't like have like a main conflict going on. It seemed like each of like the Five Heartbeats had their own little like side thing going, and like some of them were like slightly interesting. Most of them weren't that interesting, but there were a few like interesting ones. But it all felt like they were all given like the same like little bit of attention, and so like watching it just didn't feel like there was any like huge like I didn't know who to follow or like what to be looking for.
I get what
like
you mean.
Everything just seemed like a B plot, you know. And there were like some slightly interesting ones, like Jimmy getting killed by Big Red, like that. I feel like more time should have been spent on that, you know, or like we could have like had more build up to that, or like more context for that. Same with like the affair that was going on with the one guy's future wife, and his brother. Like there were like a few like slightly interesting plot points in there, but they just all felt like they were getting treated as like subplots or like side plots. And so, like, it just didn't, like, the whole movie just didn't seem that interesting as a whole, you know? Because they're, like, again, everything was just kind of like a subplot, you know?
Yeah, we didn't follow anyone specifically in this movie. And I definitely think we could have used that. Like, even, because I remember saying the same thing for Cadillac Records. Because I think this kind of did the thing that Cadillac Records did. Or Cadillac Records did what this movie did. Where they kind of just were like, we're going to make this an ensemble piece. And you kind of should, like... Especially if you're going to go over such a large period of time, you really should, like, have one person to focus on. Like, you could even make it an unexpected person to focus on. Like, that'd be interesting if you did it from the perspective of the piano player, or, like, the drummer, or the little brother, or the lead singer. Like, just focus on one person so we kind of, like, know who we're going with. Because my biggest gripe with this movie, in all honesty, is it was so generic and just forgettable to me. Even trying to look at my notes, I'm like, what even happened? Like, it's the same as a lot of the group of people singer in the 60s came up movies that we've seen on this channel. So it was just, this to me is just very generic. There wasn't anything, like, nothing happened.
And I actually wrote down in this one that, like, so when, like, going into it, like, we don't look up these movies. I didn't realize they, like, weren't a real group. And so, like, finding out this was, like, a fake group, like, totally made up. I was, like, super disappointed because, like, again, they just, like, kind of spit out the same generic plot points. They just, like, the same five tropes you see in these movies. They just gave one of them to each of them and, like, treated them, like, again, like, didn't give any of them, like, proper attention or, like, fully flesh out any, like, interesting details of any of it. So,
yeah,
like,
I think that's
the whole movie just came out kind of boring and uninteresting. Like, yeah, like I definitely agree with that. Like it was just
Yeah,
very
that's the
generic
true
feeling, you
bummer.
know?
That like since this was a made up group, you could have done anything.
Yeah, yeah.
You could have done anything. Like literally anything. Make this
Mm-hmm.
super duper memorable. Like you didn't have to do the whole one of them's on drugs, one of them is
One of
like
them got someone pregnant. One of them
yeah,
got
one of
like
them's
cheated on. You
Lothario. Like
know?
all of that, you could have done literally anything. You could have made it a weird like orgy thing where they're all making out with each other all the time, and they're keeping the fact that they're gay a secret in the 60s.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I would have watched the crap out of that if that's what this
yeah.
was. But like,
Yeah.
this was like generic, and like
Yeah.
again, we don't look these up, so that's when I was like, is this a real band? And I was like,
Yeah,
it isn't.
yeah.
So why is the story like so
Yeah,
bland?
I was super disappointed. Also, I couldn't tell how famous they were supposed to be in this, or how famous they like got in this, because like it seemed like they were doing like talent shows the whole time, or like even like in like the middle of the movie, they were still like doing talent shows, and I'm like, wait, I thought you guys were signed, dropping records, supposed to be like some like super famous band, so much so that you guys already into drugs, like you're doing all the famous band stuff, but like you're all still doing talent shows. You know?
I almost feel like they were black famous, where it's like they didn't hit mainstream success. Because
Yeah.
even when but even when the little part of the movie where they were showing their successes and all the like magazines popped up, they were on time. Like how successful were they? Never
Yeah,
mind,
so-
because if they had just been on like Ebony and Essence or whatever, just the black and Jet and the black magazines, then it would have been like, oh, they're just black people famous. But like, no, they were on time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I also don't know how famous they were either.
Yeah, but I also thought there were like kind of some abrupt shifts in like tone and like just cuts in general. Like there were a lot of times like music stopped abruptly, I thought, and like I don't know, like scenes just kind of like shifted in tone very drastically and very quickly.
Yeah.
It happened a lot more in the beginning because I feel like they kind of lost a lot of the music part toward like the middle end of the movie.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
in the beginning, there
and the
was a
music
lot more
was
music.
definitely keeping me entertained.
Yeah, but they kind of went away from it a little bit toward the middle once they like went through all the different like famous people tropes, you know.
I think what they were trying to do was sort of a thing where it's like we're having these high highs on stage and these low lows backstage, but like if you just edited it a little bit better, or like even just made it like a montage of one song, and you like just have that song still playing, and like they're on stage, and then the outfit, and then like they spin, and then when they're spinning, it goes back to Eddie doing drugs, and then like they spin again, and the outfits change, and it's a different show that they're performing, and like da 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 da. Like if you're gonna do the generic thing, at least do it well. Like do the whole generic thing instead of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I feel like
I
I
keep
keep to know the characters. Like it was like halfway through, and I was like still trying to figure out who was who, and like then they changed their hair like halfway through the movie, and I was like, all right, now I gotta start over from square one trying to figure out who's who. You know? It was rough.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, yeah. I think that's about all I have too. Is it time for ratings?
Yeah.
I guess you want to go first for this one?
Yeah, I could start this one off. I gave this a 2 out of 5. This movie just didn't hold my attention as much as I wanted it to. It was a very generic story, and I just wasn't that invested. The singing and the performing aspects were really good, but that didn't last the whole movie, which I don't know if it could have, but I needed something more, something different. And as we said before, especially since this is a fictional band, you could have made it anything. They could have been like full-on rock stars where they had like tigers or something, and they did even crazier acts, and like, I don't know. They could have... I wanted more. I want more.
Yeah, I give it two as well for pretty much the same reasons. Like, it just came out feeling generic and like not very interesting. The singing was good, and like I thought like the vibe of it was good, like especially when they were on stage.
Yeah.
Like, you got the vibe of the time, the feel of the time, the music of the time, kind of thing. But in terms of like the plot and like how they like didn't develop these characters and just kind of gave them generic kind of plots, it just like again wasn't that exciting, you know. And it again, like it was like super disappointing to find out that this was like completely made up, and like I guess it was like based off some people, but I feel like if you're gonna base it off like a true story in this kind of fashion, or like based off several different bands, I feel like you got to amp it up. You can't like tone it down, you know, but
Yeah.
once you like compile all these different stories, you can't like, okay, let's take this interesting drug addict and just like tone it down a little bit, get him out the band early, you know. Let's take this guy who has like a pregnant girlfriend and let's just like let him handle it on the side, you know. Like you have to like amp it up for the movie. Like you can't like go into this saying, oh, let's make a movie about this chaotic band and then like tone down from like real
the
band
chaos
stories, you know. Like so yeah, just a letdown on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was final question. Do you wish you saw this one sooner? Yeah, it's a no for me. Yeah, no real reason to see this one. And like again, there's like literally any other Rockstar movie you could watch, then you'd probably get more out of it than this, you know. So.
Yeah, and then the added benefit of watching one from a real band is you like want to learn more about the real band. Like after this, you're kind of just like,
yeah,
who are these?
Well, that was it.
Like they're not even real.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if I would have enjoyed it if I seen it before other movies of this same genre, but probably no. I don't think I would have, just because again, I think the good thing about having movies about bands and stuff like that is you want to learn more about the band afterwards, and like you can't with this one. You just get like a generic story, and it's like,
I mean, even if you strip away the band, like the story is just like told very weakly. Like again, like all of these things are kind of like happening off screen for the most part, you know, like. Even with like the boy cheating on like his brother or whatever, or the brother cheating with the girlfriend, like there's that one conversation, and then they like skips a few years, and then they like meet up with his kid at the end, kind of thing. Like,
and he like named his kid after his brother, and it's like
but it's like we missed all the drama in between that. We just saw him leave the band. Like we missed all of that, you know. And this is a 2-hour movie, so like they had time to flesh some of this stuff out, but. I don't even know what we were doing for the 2 hours that like none of this stuff got talked about, none of this stuff got fleshed out. Just like generic things spit out in a feed. Like I don't know what this movie was like. I don't know what we did with this movie.
I don't know either.
But that was the 5 Heartbeats.
Yes.
Yeah. YouTube housekeeping, like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell for notifications. If you have any movie suggestions for us, you can leave them in the comments down below. We do movies on Tuesdays and Fridays. All of our socials will be linked in the description box down below. And we'll see you next time to catch up. Bye.
Like, so I see why you came out of this not knowing what happened, or like not, like, it's like nothing did happen. Like they mentioned a couple things, and then like a couple things that happened off screen, and then you kind of just skip a few years, and they're like, you know, like that.
I was like, I was watching this though, but like, what even happened? And then I think part of it was because the story showed so generic. I was like, well, this basically happened in Cadillac Records, or like any of the other ones that we've seen. Like, was it Ike and Tina or Tina Turner?
Yeah, we saw
the movie we watched.
I don't remember the name, but yeah
I don't remember the name of it, but like the Tina Turner
like
movie
all of those
watched,
at least had those like that like one or two amped up scenes where it's like, oh, the drug addict has his big lash out. Like we didn't even get a big lash out from the drug addict guy. Like I don't remember. Like he kind of just like he went and like tried to get the manager kicked out, and then kind of just like left the band, or like
Cadillac Records had several drug addict lash outs.
Yeah, no, same with the Ike and Tina movie. Like there just should have been something, you know?
Yeah. I like thought of the whole they're all gay thing off the top of my head, and now I want that movie. Band in the 60s, they all love each other in like a weird way. Like, why couldn't we do that? Like, this isn't a real band. It could be anything.
No, exactly. Like, I'm trying to think the most exciting scene, and it was like maybe when they got their gold plaques and like 2 of them quit. Maybe that was the most exciting scene. Like I don't know.
I do like when people quit on things.
Yeah,
like,
no,
that's always
it was
entertaining.
fun. It was fun. Like there was like literally just no exciting scenes in this one.